So I'm so happy to be here. And as you know, this is Dolby Theater, so I'm so excited.
Yeah, I mean, basically the Oscars happen right there.
Yeah, so I don't know when, but I really want to come again in here as an actor.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Usually when a Korean actor speaks English, you find out they lived in Canada for 5 years or went to high school in Australia. But today, we're looking at the ones who did it the hard way. No year abroad, no English-speaking household, just pure, stubborn, I'm going to figure this out myself energy. Here are 16 K-drama stars with secret English skills. Number 16, Lee Sang-yi.
How to drink wine, special.
Oh, yep. So for sparkling, you wouldn't normally smell or swirl white and reds.
He might be the most surprisingly methodical person on this list. You'd expect someone from a musical theater background to learn language kind of intuitively, like just feel the rhythm of it. And actually, that's kind of exactly what he does, but in the most structured way possible. He treats English phonemes almost like musical notes, drilling them through physical repetition until they stop feeling foreign and start feeling natural. What's wild is that you can actually see it working. On the variety show Besties in Wonderland, he wasn't just getting by in English, he was leading his group through the Australian outback in it, like navigating, communicating, keeping everyone together, in a second language, with a timer. Because yes, he reportedly sets 50-minute blocks dedicated purely to intensive script reading and vocal practice. And before you say, that's a lot, it clearly works, because fans watching the show kept noting how his speech rhythm felt natural, not mechanical. That's the thing that's hardest to fake. Number 15, IU.
Please seduce that woman. She's my English teacher. If you succeed, I'll go with you.
Here's the thing about IU. She will absolutely downplay her English to you. Oh, it's not very strong, I still have a lot to learn. Very humble, very IU. And then she'll turn around and drop an idiom perfectly, or hold eye contact with an entire arena full of international fans and speak to them directly in English without flinching. The gap between how she talks about her skills and what she actually does is significant. A lot of what she's built comes from digital connection, her talk show IU's Palette, her engagement with international fans, and it's created this really interesting dynamic where learning in public has actually made people more protective of her, not more critical. Her fans don't want to correct her mistakes. They want to celebrate the fact that she's trying it all. And during her international concerts, when she shifts into English for crowd interactions and just holds the room, that's not beginner energy. That's someone who's been doing the quiet work for a long time. I think she's better than she gives herself credit for, honestly. Number 14, Kim Woo-bin.
I'm gonna show you our shooting place and introduce my friends. Let's go.
His English didn't show up in a drama or a press conference. It showed up in Cancun. During Green Bean, Red Bean, Joy Pops, Laugh Pops, the cameras caught him doing something completely unglamorous, negotiating car rental prices and keeping track of receipts. Not performing, just functioning. In English, in Mexico. And that's kind of his whole deal. His approach is purely practical, language as a tool, not a performance. He described his role in the travel group as basically the auditor, making sure nobody got overcharged and that prices were actually fair. Very serious face, very focused energy. And then he'd turn around and pull some prank on Lee Kwang-soo. Actually, the contrast is what gets me. This man is out here holding his own in English negotiations and then immediately becoming a chaos gremlin the second the financial stuff is handled. Fans noticed he also mixed in polite Spanish phrases like muchas gracias with his English, which is charming in a way that's hard to explain but very easy to feel. Totally functional is how a lot of people described it, which sounds like faint praise until you realize how rare genuine functional fluency actually is. Number 13, Song Joong-ki.
Hi, I'm Joon-gi from South Korea. When rehearsal director of this award told me don't touch this mic, Joon-gi, but I'm almost touch. I think I can say I'm one of the lucky actors who has grown thanks to the Korean industry, which has now gone global.
He did something that most actors wouldn't touch. He walked into a full press roundtable in Singapore for Reborn Rich and conducted the whole thing in English. No translator buffer, no safety net. Just him, his thoughts, and a room full of regional press watching closely. And he held it together. More than held it together, actually. People walked away impressed. His teacher was the Crown, which, okay, that's a choice. That's choosing to study the most formal, clipped, precise version of English possible and absorbing it until it becomes part of how you naturally speak. It shows. His English has a structure to it that you don't get from American sitcoms. But what makes this more than just a professional achievement is the personal layer. He's married to British actress Katie Louise Saunders, and he's talked openly about wanting to communicate well within his own multicultural household for his kid. Language isn't just a career tool for him. It's how he shows up for his family. And I don't know, something about that makes the Singapore Roundtable feel less like a flex and more like a man who just really did the work. Number 12. Han Hyo-joo.
I'm working very hard. I'm really working very hard. I trained 5 hours a day, stunt training, and the other personal training.
She took a role in Treadstone, the American spy thriller, the Bourne spinoff, and she did not treat it like a guest appearance. She went to the UK alone, on purpose. No entourage, no one to fall back on, just herself and the necessity of communicating in English every single day, until the translation in your head phase stopped happening. That's a specific and brutal strategy, and apparently it works. Her performance was praised for its clarity, which matters a lot in a production like that, where any muddiness in delivery reads as a performance problem, not a language one. Did you notice her accent slightly shifted for the role to sound more neutral? It's subtle, and honestly, it's one of those details that's easy to miss, but says a lot about how seriously she took the craft of it. She's also proficient in Japanese, so English was her third professional language, which somehow makes the whole thing even more impressive. I'll be honest, I mostly knew her from Moving, and I was going too fast through her quieter scenes to clock how much linguistic preparation goes into everything she does. That was a me problem. Number 11. Si-wan.
As I told you, season 3 is way difficult than season 2, so I'm not gonna choose only one game. So I'm gonna be eliminated from the first round. So no comment.
It's that rough.
That rough, difficult, yeah. Give up.
His prep for Run On, where he plays an athlete falling for a foreign film translator, is a good example of how some actors treat language the same way they'd treat a physical skill. You drill it, you analyze it, you pick apart the pronunciation and the flow until it stops tripping you up. His approach is described as academic and meticulous, and given his reputation as someone who researches everything obsessively, that tracks completely. He's also talked about the weight of representation, specifically around Road to Boston, and the responsibility he felt to show up linguistically for an international project. That's not a small thing to carry. And when Squid Game 2 came around, fans started paying closer attention to his English because the global stage for that show is massive, and he was ready for it. Wait, really? 100% self-taught? No extended time abroad? That's the part that surprises people most when they first hear it, because it doesn't sound like someone guessing their way through a second language. It sounds like someone who put in a lot of invisible hours. Before we jump into the next set of shocking names, tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now. Number 10. Kim Bum.
Hi everyone, this is Kim Bum. I try to read English, Chinese, Japanese questions and comments, so don't be too disappointed. Finally, I know we are all having a tough time right now. It will pass. Please stay strong.
He is one of those actors where casual fans genuinely don't know this about him, and then they see a clip from his 2023 international fan meetings, the Philippines, other stops across Asia, and they do a double take. Because he's not struggling through pleasantries. He's discussing Hallyu, talking about his future career goals, having real conversations in English with media. Smooth, natural. His method is interesting. Heavy emphasis on intonation and rhythm, listening to audio lessons multiple times specifically to mimic the sound of English before worrying too much about vocabulary. And it shows in the texture of how he speaks. It doesn't feel like someone translating in their head. There's a flow to it. I know there's a contingent of fans who still picture him as the little kid from Boys Over Flowers or High Kick, and watching him conduct a full English interview in his 30s is genuinely a little disorienting, in the best way. That nostalgia plus this very present, capable version of him, it's a lot to process, in a good way. Number 9. Jang Keun-suk.
I followed AJ into the restroom. Then I went to the edge of the sink, and looked over to him. But suddenly, he started to study Korean.
He did a film in 2009, The Case of Itaewon Homicide, where his character spoke almost entirely in English, and critics noticed. The performance was praised specifically for the linguistic intensity of it, the way he handled those demands without it feeling like a distraction. Now, he did briefly attend a school in New Zealand during junior high, so he's not starting from absolute zero. But what he's built on top of that foundation is largely his own continued work, including incorporating English into his music in ways that aren't just for marketability, but as deliberate artistic choices. He's talked about English as a connection tool, a way to reach across to an international fan base that spans Korea, Japan, China, and beyond. Watching him switch between Korean, Japanese, and English mid-performance isn't just impressive as a party trick. It's an expression of a genuinely global identity he's been building for years. Why did so much coverage of him focus on controversies, instead of the fact that he quietly became a trilingual performer? I'll never fully understand that. His fans have been pointing this out for a long time, and they're right. Number 8. Kang Sora.
Right. And compared to the latest material, Temper is more outstanding in terms of both density and elasticity, but also easy to repair.
The 2014 Mama moment. If you've seen it, you remember it. Her standing on that stage and greeting the audience in Korean, English, Japanese, and Chinese, in sequence, cleanly, without leaning on a teleprompter. People who were there said she didn't even glance at the screen. For someone whose skills are almost entirely self-taught, driven by personal interest in foreign media rather than formal study, that's a remarkable display of just how deep the work had gone. What I find genuinely interesting about her is how integrated language is into her intellectual life overall. She's known as a serious reader, a high academic achiever, someone for whom learning isn't a chore but a core part of who she is. She also has functional Russian, which is not a language people casually pick up. The jump from Misaeng, where she played a very grounded, working-class character, to multilingual presenter on a global stage is such a wide range, and she makes both feel equally natural. Honestly, in conversations about the smartest people in the industry, her name should come up more than it does. Number 7. Kim Ji-hoon.
Powerful.
He let the cameras watch him study. On I Live Alone, he was filmed doing English repetitions with a kind of intensity that's almost uncomfortable to watch. Not because it was cringe, but because it was real. That's what actual language practice looks like. It's repetitive, it's unglamorous, and he was doing it on a nationally broadcast show without pretending it was easy. That work led to him being cast in Butterfly, the Amazon Prime Video series, in an assassin role that requires linguistic precision, not just functional communication, but specific, character-driven delivery. He's been open about how hard it is to digest English lines, which is an interesting way to put it, and honestly, a very accurate one. There's a difference between knowing words and making them feel like yours. His fans now point to all those variety show study sessions as proof that the things we're willing to do unglamorously in private eventually become the things that open major doors. Also, and I say this with full respect, the dedication to the English practice and the dedication to the abs seem to be operating at approximately the same level of commitment. Just an observation. Number 6. Park Gyu-young.
Nerve-wracking at the same time because it was such a popular series in the whole world. So, but I just had to focus on the character and focus on the stories, and the story goes on, and I could like portray my character.
Nobody was necessarily expecting her to be the standout at the London premiere of Squid Game 3. That's a high-profile event with heavy hitters in the cast. And yet, there she was, handling complex press questions with this calm, articulate confidence in English that made people stop and pay attention. It wasn't showy. It was just really, really good. Her background includes Busan Foreign Language High School, which has a rigorous linguistic program, so there's a structural foundation there. But the fluency she showed in London isn't just the result of high school coursework. She's clearly maintained and built on those skills consistently. Fans watching the premiere coverage kept noting the same thing. Her English was what actually stood out. Not the outfit, not the red carpet moment, the language. That's a specific kind of impression to leave. And for someone whose celebrity performance already had people talking about her range, the London press showing added an entirely new dimension to how people see her career trajectory. Number 5. Gong Yoo.
But wherever you land, on the other side of today, tomorrow is already underway. In the circling of hands, as the story unfurls, someone may change the world.
He talks to himself, in coffee shops, in English, on purpose. He'll sit there, ask himself a question out loud, and then answer it, out loud, in English, in public. And before you laugh, this man did a full BBC interview and impressed viewers enough that clips of it circulated for weeks. So, the method works, even if it is a little unhinged. He's been upfront that he never studied abroad, which is the first thing people assume when they hear him speak. What he's built is essentially a self-immersion program that has no official name and no classroom and no credential. Just consistent, committed practice over years. Fans love him for this. Not in a look at this impressive famous person way, but in a genuine, he's still doing homework and it makes me feel better about my own life way. He's become this unlikely role model for self-directed learning, partly because he's so unflashy about it. Whether it's Squid Game press or an art house film, speaking for himself in English adds a weight to his international presence that a translator just can't replicate. Number 4, Bae Doona.
Yes, I spoke Spanish as a Mexican woman. Yeah, and it was tough. I memorized whole lines. Just I've never spoken any Spanish before, so.
When the Wachowskis cast Bae Doona in Cloud Atlas, she reportedly learned English essentially from the ground up while simultaneously adapting to a completely foreign production system. Her response to that challenge was to go to the UK alone, specifically to remove every possible safety net. No entourage, no Korean-speaking buffer, just immersion by necessity. She's described acting in a second language as requiring a completely different kind of mental energy. In Korean, she can be instinctive. In English, everything has to be more deliberate, more prepared. And yet she's kept coming back to it, adding Spanish and French along the way for other projects. There's a word she used once, addicted, to describe how she feels about roles that force her to learn something completely new. That tracks, because Sense8 is a very different linguistic and cultural universe from where she started, and she didn't just survive it, she became one of the most memorable parts of it. I genuinely could not get enough of her in that show. If you fast-forwarded through her scenes, we can't be friends. That's just the rule. Number 3, Joon-gi.
My heart goes out to all of you, so who always show me and support from various places around the world. So none of this would be possible without you guys. Thank you so much, and I love you all. Thank you.
His situation is a little different from most on this list. He had relatives in the US when he was younger, so he was exposed to English early. But the professional level fluency he brought to Resident Evil, the final chapter, that's his own continued work on top of that early exposure. Even though his Resident Evil role was short, it was actually director Paul W.S. Anderson who personally handpicked him after watching his expressive acting on mute. It's a mild rant among his fans that Hollywood didn't give him a full franchise role immediately after seeing his chemistry with Milla Jovovich. Actually, his real secret is his ability to communicate with international colleagues on set without a hitch, proving he's ready for a much bigger global project. During his Singapore and Philippines tours, he's been seen greeting fans and media in fluid, natural English, not just pleasantries, but actual communication. Fans who watched his Resident Evil performance have a very passionate ongoing rant about the fact that they didn't give him enough screen time relative to how well he handled the material. Number 2, Shin Se-kyung.
Just because they can speak English doesn't mean you can say whatever you want. And anyway, aren't you the one who forced us to keep shooting without the actors' approval?
Her English showed up in the most unglamorous possible setting, a pop-up restaurant in Europe on Pocha Beyond Borders. And that's maybe why it landed so hard, because she wasn't performing fluency. She was just using it, explaining Korean dishes to international customers, navigating dietary requests, handling vegetarianism with patience and actual vocabulary. Real-time, practical, human. And the thing is, she played a professional translator in Run-On, and her real-life skills brought something to that role that you genuinely cannot fake. Viewers who knew about her actual proficiency watched those scenes differently. She also uses English naturally in her YouTube vlogs, which has made her one of the more accessible K-drama stars for international fans who are just trying to connect with someone they like. At the menu is the reaction that keeps circulating from her pocha appearance. Yeah, same. The fact that she actually explained the ingredients in a second language in real time to a stranger without flinching, that's the bar, and she said it herself. Number 1. Park Bo-gum.
I haven't tried yet, so actually I hope to show my new looks and performance through many various films. We should do one to see me.
He ran nearly his entire 2024 and 2025 fan meetings in Singapore and the Philippines in English. There was a translator there. He mostly didn't use the translator because he wanted his fans, people who had supported him for years from thousands of miles away, to hear from him directly in a language they could understand without a middleman. That's the context for the now legendary poo-poo incident, where he meant to imitate a train going choo-choo and said something else entirely, then covered his face in embarrassment and kept going. And somehow that moment, that very human, very unpolished mistake, became one of the things fans love most about him, because it was surrounded by so much genuine effort and warmth that the mistake just made him more real. He apologizes for his vocabulary. He calls his slip-ups cute boo-boos. He serenades his fans with English songs at the piano. His English is genuinely sophisticated, and he doesn't fully believe that yet, which is both endearing and slightly frustrating. Why did he have to be so sincere about it? It makes the rest of us look bad. That's the mild rant. He's earned the top spot. Who surprised you the most? I'm actually curious. Drop it in the comments, because I have a feeling it's not who you'd expect. And if you're in the mood for something that feels a little warmer after this, less impressed by someone and more genuinely rooting for someone, go check out our last video, 12 Korean actors with green flag energy that makes fans fall hard. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.